Good morning, everyone. It's Mrs. Molino. Today's Monday, the 23rd. Today, besides doing your grammar lesson, you're going to have to do this close read packet about George Washington. I'm looking at the questions right now. I'm just going to read them out loud to be able to figure out what it is we're going to have to answer when we go through and read this passage. So question number 1 says to list 3 major events in George's life that occurred, leading him to be that commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. Quote directly from the text. So that means I'm going to take direct lines out of the text and put them in quotation marks. I might even want to say in paragraph 1 or in paragraph 2 and be able to pull those 3 major events out. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for in question number 1. Question number 2, it says summarize George's role as commander-in-chief of the Continental Army, include at least 3 key details, and cite directly from the text. So his role, what was his job? I might write job above here. What was his job that he had to do as the commander-in-chief, as the leader of this army? Okay. Number 3, describe France's connection with the U.S. winning its independence from Britain. So what did France do to be able to help us win and gain our independence from Britain? Cite evidence from the text in your response. So again, you're going to write in paragraph and then whatever number it is and tell me where you found that. Number 4 says read the first paragraph from Thomas Paine, Common Sense, and then read the 4th paragraph of this text. So that's going to be the next one. That's going to be on Thursday's lesson, Thomas Paine. So you will have to wait until Thursday, or you can go ahead and read that one. That's up to you, to be able to answer this question because the passages do connect. What was Benjamin Franklin's influences in the Revolutionary War? Cite evidence from both texts in your response. So you're going to pull information from Thomas Paine's first paragraph and 4th paragraph, and you're connecting it to what you might learn about Benjamin Franklin in this text. Okay. Number 5, how does the author support the claim that George played a significant role, an important role, in America winning its freedom from Britain? List at least 3 supporting reasons. Cite evidence or proof for each reason from the text. So the person that wrote this article about George Washington, how did he prove that George played an important role in America winning its freedom? And again, you're going to have 3 supporting reasons. So that basically means you're probably going to have 3 sentences for each of these. Okay. Today's the 23rd. It's an odd day. All right. I'll circle the odd ones. I'm going to go ahead and flip back over and read this article. Uh-oh, my marker went through. All right, so it says, George Washington the General. Born on February 22nd, 1732 in Westmoreland County, Virginia, George Washington would eventually become the first president of the United States. George played a significant role in America winning its freedom from Britain before becoming president, though. George gained military experience as a commander of the Virginia militia during the French and Indian War in the late 1750s. He resigned from his commission, which means like he gave his position up in 1759. He went back home, returned to his home in Mount Vernon, Virginia. He was then elected to the Virginia House of Burgesses. He served until 1774. The House of Burgesses was the first legislative assembly of elected representatives in America. So it's like the first group of people that were elected to be in charge. Britain began imposing new taxes on the colonists. George believed that it was the best interest of the colonists to declare independence from the British Crown. George was selected to serve as a delegate on the Continental Congress in 1774. So delegate meaning like a speaker, an important person that's going to go and represent his colony of Virginia. And Continental Congress is the big meeting that they have where each colony got together to talk about what they were going to do and how they were going to try to be free from British rule. The Continental Congress was an assembly of representatives from the colonies that coordinated their resistance to British rule. Coordinated kind of reminds me of how you coordinate your clothes every day. You're going to have matching, shirt and pants, like you're going to match your outfit. So they wanted to get together to make sure everybody matched or everybody was on the same page about going against British rule and trying to get out from underneath the British power. The Continental Congress named George as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army when the Revolutionary War began in 1775. So Commander-in-Chief, he was the general, the person that's in charge of the army of the colonies. Okay. So now I'm on the third paragraph. George and his troops crossed the Delaware River in 1776 to attack British troops in Trenton. George was able to lead his men to victory. They won. The Continental Army then stayed at Valley Forge, which was an encampment south of Philadelphia. So Philadelphia is in Pennsylvania, and it was like a camp that they had set up for the Continental Army. They stayed there from December of 1777 to June of 1778, so about 6 months. George realized that his troops were poorly trained and did not have the necessary supplies. That winter, the soldiers had to go without shoes or warm clothing. Could you imagine? They also lacked food. Some men built log cabins. Many lived in tents. So picture camping in a tent in winter and how cold that would be. If you didn't have enough blankets, you didn't have shoes, and you didn't have any food, it would be awful, right? Let's see here. The Continental Congress didn't have money to pay the soldiers. They could not buy needed supplies. George realized the severity or the seriousness of this situation, how bad it was. He had Thomas Paine's The American Crisis read to his men. It began with the famous words, quote, "These are the times that try men's souls," quote. George was able to keep the army together despite these circumstances. He was able to inspire them to keep fighting for the cause. George even asked Baron Augustus von Steuben to come from Europe to help train his men. The time spent at Valley Forge was extremely difficult, but the experience helped the men become stronger and resilient. So that means they kept fighting for their cause even though they were up against a lot of odds, a lot of hardships. All right, fourth paragraph. The Continental Army's efforts and Benjamin Franklin encouraged the French military to enter the war and fight alongside them in the spring of 1778. So this goes with that one question on the back side and relates to that Thomas Paine article, okay? I see Benjamin Franklin's name here. All right, so they got together and encouraged, so they maybe wrote letters to the French military to say, please, please, we need your help and come fight with us. Okay, in the spring of 1778. France wanted the Americans to win. They sent ships, soldiers, weapons, and money to help out, which was good. In the last paragraph, number 5, it says, George lost more battles than he won, but he was able to end the Revolutionary War by capturing British troops under General Charles Cornwallis in Yorktown, Virginia, with the help of the French military. So if the French didn't come, George probably wouldn't have won this big battle, which ended the war. What they did is they circled the city of Yorktown and attacked them. The British surrendered. They gave up. George was declared a national hero. Some people wanted him to become king of America. But George felt that America had been under a king's rule long enough. He wanted America to be a government ruled by the people. Okay, smart of him. So remember, you're going to use different pieces of evidence from all the paragraphs to be able to answer these questions. Okay. If anyone has any questions about these, you let us know in the comments. This page here, let's see here, it has to do with a person's point of view. Two people might experience the same event but feel differently. Okay. So just read the top here. It gives a question after this little line. It says, how are many colonists' point of view different from George's point of view of him being the first king of the U.S.? Highlight evidence describing the colonists' point of view in pink. Highlight the evidence describing George's point of view in pink. So colonists might have thought that George ended the war, but they might have had a different point of view based on if they were a part of the military. Maybe in Valley Forge, that was difficult to get through that winter. George wanted America to have independence from the crown, so he thought that they were underneath the king's rule long enough, and he did not want them to name him king. Okay, so that's one area, one question. Then the second one says, how were George's troops' point of view different from the author's point of view of the winter spent at Valley Forge? Oh, we talked about that up here. Highlight the evidence in the colonist point of view in pink, and evidence describing George's point of view in pink. So I'm going to write right here, maybe his Continental Army. What their point of view might be in Valley Forge, right? They had no shoes, no warm blankets, no food, lived in tents. And how might they have felt, or what their point of view might be, gathering all those pieces of evidence? And then George here, he decided to read them Thomas Paine's writing and try to turn their attitudes around, right? And keep them fighting. Okay, so then you have to just gather information about what their point of view might be. Okay, not too bad. There's no back on that. So that was the reading of George Washington. Again, if you have any questions, please let us know in the comments.